Okay, so at one point, your dad ends up retiring from his coaching job, and you guys go into business together. You guys open up a restaurant, which ultimately goes out of business. You guys buy some low-income apartments, but there's not really a lot of experience. And at one point, your dad ends up getting to some gambling problems, and he had to actually go to you and admit that he had been essentially spending your money in a way?
Yeah, I don't know if that's really how. It's kind of complicated. I don't know. We had a problem at the bank, and I was made aware. Also, not a secret that my dad gambles. That is not that's something that we did together that we could do and go around and be around one another. That and play golf. Those are two things that we did together, and I really enjoyed that. And so when he came to me, of course he's upset, and I'll never do it again, and don't tell your mom. And so of course I didn't tell my mom. But yeah, so and to go back, my dad's dad. I can remember him telling stories when I was little that, only time his mom and dad got in a fight or argument was over him going to the racetrack. And that's what I remember with my folks. And that is definitely the case, or was definitely the case with me and my ex-wife. So I didn't understand any of it. I didn't know why I was doing it. I just needed an escape.
Okay, so then 1991, you end up signing a 5-year contract extension with the Hornets for $10 million. And at the time, that sounded like $10 billion to you. You had no idea that you could ever spend this much money and it'll last forever.
Right.
What were some of the craziest things that you were doing with your money after you got that extension?
Well, like my gambling went from, it probably jumped tenfold or fivefold anyway. If I was betting $500 a race, I'm betting $1,500 a race now. It just didn't make any sense. But cars, all the time, going on vacations. There's just no end to, how frivolous and irresponsible that I was. I know this, had I not signed another contract after those first 3 years, I wouldn't have had any money left there. I don't think, or it wouldn't have lasted for very long.
Well, there's one thing to actually go to the racetracks to bet, but then you found out about off-track betting.
Well, off-track betting, that was becoming a thing, but that simulcasting was becoming a thing where, used to be racetracks didn't commingle, and they had one pool at their track, another pool. Well, then all the states started, simulcasting came into play, and that was heaven for me. Instead of going to the track and betting 9 races a day, now I can go to an OTB and bet 90 races a day. But also during that time, we had an exhibition game in Vegas. I was still underage, but they let me gamble there. And once that, blackjack, right up my alley. And the thing with blackjack, you can only blow so much money a day at the racetrack. I mean, at the casino, oh man, you can really blow money.
I mean, if you look at all the gambling you've done throughout your life, if you were just eyeball how much you lost.
20 million. I mean,
20 million.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
15, 20 million, I would guess. After taxes, let's say I made 40 million. No, probably 10, I guess, 10, 12 or so.
That's still a lot, man. That's still a huge amount. And I guess for me, I never really got into gambling because I remember that feeling when I first walked into a casino and I looked around and said, all this extravagant real estate and all these lights and all the staff, it's all made from people losing.
Yeah.
Every last dollar. Yes, there's a few shows or whatever, but it's all really based on the gambling.
Where's your...
And if all this is based on... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious now, but like what was your relationship to money at that time when you walked in there? How old were you? And
yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't have a lot of money.
No, I just wonder because
it was like college. I didn't have a lot of money, but I did know that it was not a great investment.
Yeah,
and once I started having real money, the first thing I looked into was stock investing. I started reading Warren Buffett's book and everything else like that, and that changed my whole life to this day.
I think this is a very good point because I didn't start out playing basketball to make money. I started because really I was attention deficit and it made me happy. It got me out of my brain. The money I made playing, all of it, I never really felt like I earned. It was just a byproduct of me having a jump shot that could travel the country. I didn't feel like it was a job. It wasn't like I was good at it, but I really didn't feel like I earned it. It just happened. And, also it happened at a very young age where I was going through a lot and I didn't have any coping skills. So just trying to stay away from drugs and alcohol, I was gambling.